My name is Chris Kalinich, and I'd like to welcome you to my kitchen, also known as the Platter Kitchen. And this is where I love to show people how to cook more joyfully in their kitchens. We are in a small section of my kitchen by the oven for a specific reason, because we are going to focus on learning how to roast bell peppers. And I may have to go back to, why would you want to roast bell peppers? Well, you may be familiar with these jars of roasted bell peppers, and I keep them handily in my pantry as well for convenience sake. And I do want to just remind you, if you do get the jarred roasted bell peppers from the grocery store, just make sure they're not smothered in all that unnecessary oil at 120 calories per tablespoon. I think we can do without that. So what I'd like to do is show you today is how you can do it very economically, and the flavor is just even more wonderful when you do it in your own kitchen. Now, let's talk a little bit about bell peppers. I love them fresh. I love them in different colors, the red, the orange, the yellow. They all are wonderful. Now, green is obviously a little more bitter, right? But it is very nutritious, all of them, all the colors of the bell pepper. They offer your body beta carotene, lots of vitamin C, so they're wonderfully nutritious, right? They also are easy to put on your salads and in wraps. You can dip them into your hummus. They make wonderful snacks, so they complement things well when they're cool and fresh. You can also add them into, obviously, stir fries and into soups and stews, but I really like them when they are roasted. So let's talk a little bit about what is roasting. How would you roast? Why would you want to roast vegetables in your oven? And technically, just a fun food fact, I believe bell peppers are technically a fruit, but we are going to treat them like a vegetable. Think about what happens when you grill, or saute onions in a pan for a really long time. They break down, they lose a lot of moisture, they become what we call caramelized onions. And most of us, if we don't like raw onions, we tend to really like caramelized onions. Well, why is that? Well, they become sweeter, right? There's this wonderful kind of smoky sweetness to them. The same thing will happen with bell peppers. And so with red bell peppers, or green or orange or whatever, they'll become sweeter, more intense in sweetness, and they'll have this charred outside. Parts of it will become charred. They'll give it an earthy smokiness, which is kind of that taste of umami or savoriness that we love in our foods. What you'll want to do when you're roasting bell peppers is you're going to want to use a low rimmed pan, so like a cookie sheet, baking sheet, because if you do something like a casserole and you put your bell peppers in there, you're going to block a lot of the direct heat, and roasting requires the vegetable to be exposed as much as possible to as much dry heat as you can get to it. That's what's going to cause that charring. You're also going to want to make sure when you place your bell peppers that you have a lot of room on your baking pan. All right, so don't nestle them up together or they're going to steam versus roast. Another really great cooking tip is to use a silicone baking mat. It can go up to really high temperature heats. Parchment paper you can use as well, but you'll want to they typically start smoking around 420-ish degrees. So anything higher than that, I would recommend not using parchment paper. If you don't have either of these items, even though this is wonderful, it cleans up great, you're not using any oil, you're not throwing stuff away, so you're kind of helping to protect Mother Earth as well. If you don't have that, you can take a few whiffs of like a high heat vegetable oil and just real lightly spray your pan so that your bell peppers, as they caramelize, they don't stick, because sugar is getting kind of released and will stick onto your pan. All right, so at what heat do we want to use on the oven? Well, technically roasting's around the 400 and higher mark. Sometimes 375 is also considered a dry heat roasting temperature. I'm going to say for bell peppers, I like to use 400. Now, if you have a convection oven, you could stick with that 400 mark. And the cooking time will probably shorten a little bit than traditional roasting, a typical oven that maybe doesn't have the convection feature to it, because convection is blowing air around, so it's exposing, blowing heat directly onto the items and helping it to more quickly roast. So with the convection oven, if something tells you to roast it 400, you could maybe turn it down to 375 and cook it for the same amount of time, which for bell peppers I recommend about 20 minutes or so. Or you can leave it at the same temperature of 400 degrees and just check, and maybe it's going to cook a little bit longer. Maybe 15 to 17 minutes is all it's going to take in a convection oven. So the key thing is with your oven is use a timer. So what I do is I don't even cut. I don't do anything other than wash and take those nasty stickers off, food label stickers from the grocery store. You just place them onto the baking pan, just like this, whole, quick as a snap, okay? You've preheated your oven to 400 degrees. You're gonna put it in there for 10 minutes. So set your timer for 10 minutes. You're gonna come back to the oven and with tongs, flip them over, and because you wanna expose all sides during the roasting process. And then you'll put it back in for another 10 minutes and just be checking in on them. Turn on the light and check. You'll know when you've roasted your bell peppers correctly is when it's kind of blistered, it's become very tender, and there are black roasting charred marks on your bell pepper. Pull out the pan, set it to cool on a baking rack, and allow it to completely cool, because there's a lot of built up steam in here from the moisture from the bell pepper. So you don't want to, you could burn yourself if you directly cut into it. And then what I like to do is, once it's cool enough to handle, I chop off the top and I pour the liquid into a strainer, then into a bowl. And then I can use that inside flavor juice for maybe I'm cooking with a pasta or a soup or whatever that evening, and I can add it to that. If not, you can put it down the drain if you so like. But now you have wonderful roasted bell peppers that you can use in a variety of ways. You can use that whole roasted bell pepper with the top that's now been taken off and kind of de-seeded, and you could throw it into a batch of chickpea hummus, and now you have that roasted red bell pepper hummus. You could put it into dishes like pasta and risotto dishes. You can top it on your pizzas or bean burgers. You can put it inside wraps. Throughout the week, you now are able to enhance, amp up the flavor of many meals, many dishes, just through the addition of the wonderful roasted bell pepper. So I hope you will take this to heart. Next time you're at the grocery store, fill up on several roast bell peppers, take them home, roast them, and your taste buds will appreciate it. Thanks for joining me, and have a great day.